I was asked to be there by the parents and by the relatives. And I went there for the parents and the relatives. And while I was there, I didn't ask for a picture. While I was there, they said, "Sir, could we have a picture at the grave?"
With us now, NBC News White House correspondent Aaron Gilchrist, NBC News correspondent Dasha Burns, MSNBC political analyst Alexi McCammon, and Brendan Buck, former press secretary to former House Speaker Boehner, and 2012 GOP vice presidential nominee Paul Ryan. He is also an MSNBC political analyst. So, Aaron, what is the Harris campaign thinking today?
Well, I think, Jose, the campaign is feeling pretty good about the interview last night. We've seen surrogates and advisors to the vice president on television since that interview aired on CNN, and they've really been trying to highlight what they see as some of the key moments of that interview, saying that she talked about and was able to advance points about her plans to build an opportunity economy, as she's called it, working to build the middle class. She talked about some of her ideas around expanding child tax credit and bringing down grocery prices, for example. And the campaign says that those are things that she has said will be defining goals of her presidency and work that she would start on day one. They also talk about how she was able to, from their view, go at former President Trump's economic record and talk about what she believes a second Trump administration would do in terms of increasing costs for the middle class, increasing inflation, as the campaign says. And they also point out, Jose, one point in the interview where the vice president indicated that she would look at having a Republican as a member of her cabinet, saying that she values having diverse voices at the table. Overall, the campaign has indicated that they're satisfied with the interview the vice president and Governor Walz gave last night, and they're looking forward to moving forward, suggesting that there could be potentially other interviews and opportunities to hear from the vice president in unscripted settings, Jose.
Yeah, I mean, Alexi, this is the first one since she is at the top of the ticket. She was asked a number of questions about policy. She answered some more deeply than others. What'd you make of that?
Look, I think that Republicans are doing a good job of trying to make Kamala Harris out to be someone who voters see she is not. They tried to vilify her and make her some radical leftist and make her explain for what they call flip-flopping on positions. But I think what we saw from last night from Kamala Harris is a rare example of a leader, a politician who maintains intellectual curiosity, and because of that, whose views have evolved. And she spoke to those different policy issues that you mentioned, and especially when you consider the other side. I mean, we have to keep asking someone like J.D. Vance whether he has flip-flopped or whether he has maintained intellectual curiosity. He called Trump Hitler in the past, and now he's serving as his running mate. So hopefully those questions are going to the other side as much as they were to the vice president last night.
And Brennan, here is what Vice President Harris had to say about potentially putting a Republican in her cabinet. Listen to this.
Will you appoint a Republican to your cabinet?
Yes, I would. I think it's important to have people at the table when some of the most important decisions are being made that have different views, different experiences. And I think it would be to the benefit of the American public to have a member of my cabinet who was a Republican.
Brendan, what did you make of that line?
Well, I think the vice president is very clearly committed to this message that she is a mainstream, down-the-middle candidate. Their whole convention was built around rejecting that perception that she's far left. I mean, they had Adam Kinzinger, former Republican congressman, speak, two speakers before her. And once again last night, she was very committed to communicating that she's not the candidate that she was in 2019. Now, look, I think there are real questions about this. I mean, she has flip-flopped on a lot of issues. And, the irony is, though, if you're the Trump campaign, you probably don't want to call her a flip-flopper. You really just want to say you don't believe her, that she still is everything that she said she was in 2019. I mean, it is a pretty remarkable change in position, but I think she probably quite effectively did as well as you can do and just kind of said, you know what, those are not my positions anymore, and move on. And hope that sticks, and hope that voters see that as sincere. I think that's the real question. Do people buy the fact that she has changed her positions, or is she just masquerading that way to try to win votes? I think it's smart politics. I just want to know whether or not people will buy it.
Yeah, I mean, Dasha, meanwhile, Donald Trump made quite a bit of news during your interview when it comes to reproductive rights. What did he have to say now?
has seen reproductive rights as a liability for Republicans. He has been trying to push the party to talk about the issue of abortion differently, to talk about reproductive rights differently altogether. And IVF in particular became a flashpoint. You'll remember when Alabama, when clinics there had to shut down and stop IVF services for a time. This is something Republicans are concerned about. They very quickly moved to try to say, look, we're in support of families, we're in support of IVF. And now the former president coming out with a policy proposal on this issue. Take a listen.
I was always for IVF right from the beginning. As soon as we heard about it, it's fertilization and it's helping women and men and families. We are going to be, under the Trump administration, we are going to be paying for that treatment. So we are paying for that treatment.
All Americans who want it?
All Americans that get it, all Americans that need it. So we're going to be paying for that treatment, or we're going to be mandating that the insurance company pay.
So either the government will pay for it or the insurance companies will cover.
Under a mandate, yes.
And look, Jose, every time something like what happened in Alabama happens, every time you hear a story of a woman who had to travel out of state, who nearly lost her life, or a baby that nearly lost their life because of these policies, that reflects poorly on the former president and on the Republican Party. So he is very much aware of that. I also asked him in our interview about the Florida amendment, Florida abortion ballot initiative to overturn their 6-week ban. He, of course, is a resident of Florida. He has said he wants this issue to be a states' rights issue. Now it is on the ballot in the state that he calls his home, so he will have to be voting on that. He told me that he believes that 6 weeks is too short. He wants more weeks, he said, but he didn't clarify exactly how he will vote on that issue, Jose.
So, yeah, Brendan, and that's kind of an issue. We're talking about, you know, perceptions of or reality of flip-flopping. This issue for the former president, you know, he won't say how he's going to vote on this 6-week ban issue. But how do you think Republican voters are seeing this?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of social conservatives who are really up in arms right now. But, you know, I'm skeptical that they're actually ever going to leave him. I mean, there's the evangelical support for Donald Trump has been curious from the very beginning, but it's been unwavering nonetheless. Look, Donald Trump has very questionable political instincts a lot, but he very much understands that on this issue, he's in big trouble. Any type of reproductive issue is a bad conversation for him, and he's been trying to sort of back away from this, you know, his own record on these issues quite a bit. I'm sure that they are seeing polling that show that this is a real big problem for him. And it's not just that it's an issue that people disagree with him on. It's an issue that we have seen turns out Democratic voters in droves. It was the driving issue that had Democrats have the better outcome than we expected in the last midterms. And anywhere that it's been on the ballot, as it is in Florida, and as it's going to be in a lot of swing states, it has hurt Republicans. And I think he knows that. He's trying to figure out some way to walk a fine line. And he's probably just betting that the people on the right who believe strongly in these issues are just simply not going to abandon him because they haven't for 8 years.
Yeah, I mean, Alexi, this is an issue that, as Brandon says, has motivated people to come out to vote in the different state initiatives, et cetera. This is something that, I guess, Alexi, the former president is going to have a tough time convincing people what his position is dogmatically, one way or another.
It's crazy. Kudos to Dasha for getting him on the record saying something that is as crazy as the most extreme positions he has taken on women's and reproductive rights. I mean, talk about a political flip-flop. He thinks that it's politically expedient to suddenly support women and our ability to have reproductive rights. He thinks it's suddenly politically expedient to say that he will protect women if he's reelected, that he will pay for IVF treatments when his running mate is dumping on women who don't have their own biological children, when Republicans in the mold of his party have become so extreme that they are coming after birth control, mifepristone, IVF, splitting hairs on different procedures that women and families need to take in desperate times to save lives to be able to even have a family. It's a complete joke. He's a complete joke when he talks about women's rights and reproductive rights. And we should absolutely not believe him when he says that he will pay or have the government pay for IVF treatments, because as we know well, not only is his running mate an extreme conservative on these issues, Donald Trump himself has gotten the party to be where it is at on these positions. And we should never take him at his word, because he listens to the last and most influential person that he speaks to on major policy issues.
Aaron Gilchrist, Dasha Burns, Alexi McCammon, and Brendan Buck, I thank you very much for being with us. Really appreciate it. Up next, new information about inflation in a report released just this morning. We're going to discuss it with President Biden's top economic advisor, Jared Bernstein. Jared, it's great seeing you, buddy. We'll just talk in just a minute. Plus, ahead of the holiday weekend, millions of travelers will head out to celebrate the last stretch of summer. What you need to know before you hit the road. And later, what the vice president did and did not say about immigration, her immigration agenda in her first primetime interview as a Democratic nominee. We're back in 90 seconds. You're watching Jose Díaz-Balart Reports on MSNBC.
Hello, I'm Dan Fields. Welcome to Jaguar Land Rover Bellevue, the newest member of the Fields Auto Group.
For over 50 years, Fields has been North America's premier family-owned and operated luxury auto group. Whether you're in the market for a luxury sedan, SUV, or electric vehicle, Jaguar Land Rover Bellevue has them all, in stock and ready for delivery.
And right now is a great time to get an offer like this.
Lease a new 2024 Discovery Sport SP250 for $634 a month at Land Rover Bellevue. Go to LandRoverBellevue.com.
Follow the current to the new Tropical Reef Aquarium.
We were wondering if anything happened to us.
We want you to take the kids.
Doesn't count. What you need is a will, something you can sign and make official. Start your will at trustandwill.com and make it count.
One of the things I like about what I get to do is that each day is pretty unique. I might wake up and find out there's a brand new poll out, and I want to dive into it and get something on air about that poll. Or I might find out that there's not a lot of new numbers in the world today, and so today's going to be a day I'm going to spend researching, learning about a state, about the different counties, about the voter history, about the demographic trends, and just committing that all to memory. The only way to really be prepared is to get it all in my brain ahead of time.
Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it, I know it, which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. We created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, bringing business back to America. I'll say that that's good work. There's more to do, but that's good work.
Vice President Harris, along with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, defending the Biden administration's economic record last night in their first major interview of the 2024 campaign, but acknowledging it will take more to convince Americans grappling with high food and housing costs that the economy is better off than it was 4 years ago. Meanwhile, this morning, new reports from the Commerce Department on what consumers are spending on goods and services showed core prices edging up in July at the expected rate, and it could be the green light the Federal Reserve needs to cut interest rates in September. Joining me now, Jared Bernstein, chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors. Jared, always really grateful for your time. What was the major takeaway from this morning's personal consumption expenditures, or PCE, report?
PCE. Great to be with you, Jose. Two major takeaways. First of all, as you said, inflation continues to ease. That's very important from the perspective of not just the Federal Reserve, but working Americans. What we have now is consistently wages and incomes beating prices. That means the purchasing power, the buying power of the paycheck has been growing in ways that help folks deal with prices that, as the vice president say, are still too high, but at least are coming